Welcome to JMG Tint and Wraps. Today I'm going to show you how to do hand cut window tinting. Okay, so today we're going to hand cut this front door window. It's going to be a little tough because it has this little ridge here. So it's going to be a great example of what to do in this scenario. So the first step is to clean the outside glass. Now that we've cleaned the outside glass, we could go ahead and wet it again so that we could get our roll of film right here. This is a 24-inch roll. It's going to be the perfect size for this window. We're going to unroll it. And this is a very important part right here, is when you go to cut it, start from the middle, but work it off the car. So that this way you make sure that you don't accidentally cut the car from just trying to do this simple cut. Now that we got the film on the glass, we're going to make sure that the bottom edge is pretty much as close as it can be because we want a lot of excess on the top. So now I'm going to go ahead and do 2 cuts right after making sure I secure the film on the glass. I don't want my film moving when I'm about to start cutting. Always make sure you got a fresh blade. You're going to pick this side up, and then you're going to use your nail to get it in the groove, okay? I'm angling the blade towards me in this direction, so that this way I'm making sure that I'm not cutting the rubber seal that's right there. This is one of the most dangerous parts of doing hand cut. I like to work with a longer blade, so this blade's a little too short. When in doubt, put a fresh blade. So now I'm ready to do this bottom section. I'm going to start from the front corner. Before I do so, I will trim off this little excess there. So what I'm going to do to get this curve, I'm making sure I'm putting pressure on the bottom gasket. I'm making sure my fingers are pushing the film down as I come across the corner there. And that's how I ensure that I get a nice clean edge on the bottom there. Now that I did my first 2 cuts, I'm going to pick the film off the car, wet the glass again, bring the film back onto the car, and now I'm going to slide it the full gasket. Okay, if you saw where I cut along this, right? Now we're going to put that line right up into the edge. That's where I know that I'm good to go with my cut on this side. So now that this is lined up, I also make sure that it's straight. I see an even gap right there. So that means I can secure it again. And now I'm ready to do this edge. Now with this edge, I'm going to do the same application that I did with the other side. I'm going to run my nail through, make sure I'm as close as I can be. And cut away. And now I have my front edge. Now the only edge left to get is going to be on the top edge, which we're going to go ahead and get now. But we're going to lift it up one more time. Wet the glass again. And now this time we're going to try to center it in the middle. How are we going to do that? Well, I like to always make sure that the edge of the tint here is touching the edge of this rubber seal. That tells me that when I install it, I'm going to have plenty of film to tuck underneath. There's not going to be any gapping underneath. Before, when we laid the film to cut that edge, we ran it to this line. Now we're going to put the film in the middle, right in the middle of the gasket. When we have the film in the middle of the gasket, then we know we're good to go on securing the window. Now we're ready to try to do our top cut. So we're going to open the car up. We're going to turn the car on, put it in ACC mode, and now we're going to lift the tint up on the bottom, roll the window down, exposing the top edge for us. We're going to close the door again. And now we got this cut to do. I always like to use a plastic blade for this last cut, because what happens when you're using the metal blade and you're putting the pressure on the edge, you'll create a micro scratch that goes along the whole top edge. Always make sure you got a fresh blade in there. Over time, you'll get better at it. In the beginning, it could be a little troublesome, but it's all about keeping the same angle. You keep the same angle, you'll get a nice clean cut every time. All right, now that we did the top edge, left is the corners. If you are doing this without a cut board, you would have to do it like this. Right now, all I'm trying to do is round out the corners. Now our template is finished. Now we're ready to bring the window back up and we're ready for heat shrinking. And that right there is how you do a hand cut for a Ford F-250, F-150,